Hi everyone! Welcome to the Crafty Pixie channel where we do sewing projects, craft projects, and subscription boxes. I am Bee. Whether you are new or old to this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. It is great to have you. In today's video, we are going to make this adorable Easter basket. I mean, it is so cute. Now, fair warning, I could not find the interfacing the pattern calls for anywhere. Anywhere. I went to several stores, could not find it. So I had to use what I had on hand. So this basket is a little bit more floppy than what it should be. But I'm just going to have this as a display on my Easter dining room table. I'm not going to actually have it being carried around by the kids putting eggs in or anything like that. But it is super cute. It is done with a sewing machine and a little bit of hand stitching. It's not too bad, and you've got the nice little binding across the top, which was not hard at all. I am one who does not like using binding. I have a very hard time with it, but this actually was not hard at all. You just weave the pieces through. The most tedious part of this is literally cutting out every single strip and folding it and doing what you need to do with it. But this is a one-day project. This is not a difficult one at all to do. I really enjoyed making it. If I had a little bit more time, I'd probably make a whole bunch more. But it's a really good size. I mean, if you are able to find the interfacing that she suggests in the pattern, you can use this to do whatever. I mean, it's really great. Level, I would say intermediate. But other than that, it's not too bad at all. Okay? Don't forget, please, to hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell so you know when I upload every Wednesday at 9:15 a.m. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, especially if you are a new subscriber. I would love to hear from you. And give the video a thumbs up. It gives me great encouragement. And it takes no time at all for you to do. So without any further ado, let's get to materials and get started. Today's project, you are going to need an ironing board or an ironing table mat. You are going to need your iron. Today I'm using the Singer Expert Finish. I love this thing. I always use it. You're going to need clips and pins. You're going to need a needle and threads. You're going to need, of course, your small scissors. Coordinating thread as coordinated as you can get it. A nice little stiletto. We've got some edges that are really tiny, so this might come in handy for you. You're going to need a seam gauge, or I decided to use a manila envelope, not a manila envelope, but a manila folder, and I marked seam lines on it. And I'm actually using this. I'll show you how to use it when I get to that step. You're going to need your 12 strips of cotton interfacing with the coordinating double-sided interfacing, or if you're like me and you could not find the double-sided interfacing anywhere and you didn't have it, I'm using Decoville for it. You're also going to need your one strap for the top of your, or the handle of your basket. And then you're going to need the 4 strips of the longer one. along with the coordinating interfacing for this and the coordinating interfacing for 3 of these. And then the fourth piece, which is going to be your binding for the top. And be prepared, you're going to need a little bit of time. The prep work for this is very tedious, I found. In my opinion, it's going to look adorable in the end, but you're going to definitely need some time. Okay, so let's get to the first step and get started. The first step I'm going to show you for this project is the constructions of all of the rectangle pieces. This is one of my 12 pieces that I'm doing. And basically you're going to do the same thing for all of them, except for your handle. And I'll tell you the difference of that in a second. So basically what you're going to do is you're folding each long side up 1/4 of an inch so that you don't have any raw edges showing. So instead of using a teeny tiny seam gauge, like I was doing, and I can't anymore. So basically you're gonna take it, you're gonna line it up, and you're just gonna fold your fabric right to meet that line or almost meet that line. You don't necessarily have to have it meet exactly. It'll be okay. And then you're just going to press the seam down and you're gonna move along. Now I got to figure out, I love this idea, but the folder is warping a little bit and I don't want to have to keep creating this. So I'm going to try to figure out if something exists like this or figure out how to make something like this for myself. That's going to be thin enough to do this, but it's going to withstand the heat of multiple uses with an iron. So, but basically you're just coming across, folding up the edges 1/4 of an inch or almost 1/4 of an inch. A scant 1/4 of an inch is fine for this. This is very, very, very tedious in my opinion. But this is going to look really cute at the end of it. There is no such thing as perfect. You don't have to have these perfect rectangles. It's okay. There's going to be a little bit of variation. You're human. But it's not going to ruin the project. And you remember that there is an inner and outer of the basket. So there is ways to conceal tiny little errors. All right, so we're just gonna finish that. In the next step, she wants you to sandwich the double-sided fusible interfacing between it and then fold it over and seal it with your iron. Like I said, with the materials, I could not find double-sided fusible interfacing in any store that I went to in my area. Absolutely nothing. One of the associates at Joann's told me that apparently there was a huge sale on interfacing, and yeah, people just literally swiped as much of it as they could. So I'm using Decoville. This stuff is like paper at the end, so it's gonna hold up pretty well. You're just gonna have to do this a little bit differently. So with the sticky side of the interfacing laying on the wrong side of your fabric, you're just going to iron it to one long edge that is folded on it. Okay, just like this. You don't have to hold it very long. Seals pretty quickly. Just like that. And you're gonna hold it at the end. If you've got a little hanging left over, that's perfectly fine, especially if you're using Decovil, because it stretches just a little bit. And then we're gonna take it and we're gonna fold it over so that the wrong sides are together across the entire length of your strip. Now, you don't have to cut these strips individually. You can use like a jelly roll. That'll work just fine. I didn't find any Easter jelly rolls, so I literally measured and cut every single piece of this. I am glutton for punishment. I really, really am. So you're just going to iron it flat. Now, if there is a little bit like both edges do not all the way meet because of the interfacing, that's fine. That's fine, because you're gonna have a better looking side that you can put on the outside of the basket as opposed to putting, you know, so you can pay attention to that when you're doing this, okay? And then I just like to clip it so it keeps its shape. Just put a few clips in. Basket handle, hold on. When you get to your basket handle, okay, you're going to fold in your edges and your long sides in 1/4 of an inch. And then you're going to fold it in half with the interfacing in between, okay? The only one that you are not going to do this to, like all your 12 strips and then your 4 strips, you don't fold in the edges. You just fold in the long sides. So you're going to interface every single piece of this except your binding piece. All you're going to do is fold it in 1/4 of an inch on the long sides and then fold it in half. And you're done. Leave it alone. I clip it so that it keeps its shape. Okay. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take these to the sewing machine and you are going to top stitch 1/4 of an inch along the long sides of every single piece. When you get to your handle, you're going to top stitch 1/4 of an inch on all 4 sides, so everything is sealed together, because you're not going to be able to hide the ends, okay? So like I said, 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. I'm going to do that, and I will be right back. With all of that done, we're going to take our 12 assorted colors and we're going to start weaving the basket. Okay, so this is the point where you're going to want to see which is the pretty side of your strips and which is the not so pretty. The not so pretty can be facing up, okay? So we're going to line them up. Six going this way. Like so. You're going to want to make sure these are as aligned as possible. Alright, so there is my 6 one way. Okay, and then we're gonna start weaving the other colors, okay? We're gonna come across this way. So we're going to over, under, over, under, over, under. Don't worry, you'll be able to correct any issues, you know, with alignment before you take it over to the sewing machine, okay? I messed up. Under. So you are literally weaving the pieces. Okay. That was easier. I'm gonna do it that way. I like to try to keep them even and aligned now. That's just my whoops. See, I keep messing up. Alright, now you've got the nice weave in place. Now we're going to make them as tight as possible. This is going to take some continuous maneuvering. That's okay because nothing's been sewn yet, so we can do that. This as tight as possible because this weaving right here is going to be the bottom of the basket. So you want it as tight as possible. You just keep fiddling with it until it is as tight as you can weave it and as even as you can. All right, just like that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pins. All right, once you have everything as tightly woven together as possible, you know, you're gonna have a little bit of space. I mean, it's reality. So when you get it as firmly in place as possible, you are going to want to very carefully pin all around the edges, okay? Because you're going to take this over to the sewing machine and you're going to stitch around that edge. So you don't want stuff moving if you can help it. So just very carefully pin it in place. Just if things shift a little bit, just move them back. Make sure your ends are aligned. It's okay if there's a little bit of variation. It happens. But you want to try to avoid as much as possible. All right, now you're gonna take this over to the sewing machine. If you want to put more pins in it, especially like right here, by all means do that. But we're gonna take this over to the sewing machine, okay? And with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, we're just going to sew along the entire square that we made. So you can pretty much follow your top stitching that you did on your stitches. Make sure that you back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine. I'm going to do that and I will be right back. Done. Now you're going to take the 3 long strips that you top stitched on both sides, and we're going to start making the sides of the baskets. So basically, we're going to weave this piece through. And then fold our ends up like so. Now if you've got some variation in height from everything moving, now is the time where you can adjust all of that. You can try to make it as even as possible. And then we're just gonna pin everything. I know you can't really see what I'm doing, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm gonna do it this way. Okay, so I've done some of it already, just weaving it in and out, but I'm gonna show you over here as best I can. So basically, we're gonna turn the curve, but we're gonna alternate just like we did when we were weaving the first time. So we're just gonna come through, and this band is gonna be on the outside. I am pinning it in place just so that things don't move too much on me. So I'm just pinning. This is where your needle and thread are going to come into play because of the weird angle that it's at, because you're finishing up. Oops. It's going to be it's going to be difficult getting this through the sewing machine on the sides here, and you don't want to do very much with it. So we're just attaching it like this. I've brought it all the way around. Again, you want to keep it as tight as possible because of where it is. All right, so then we're going to do this right here. Okay, and then you've come to the end of one of your strips. and you want that end to be on the inside of the basket so it's not seen from the outside. Okay, and then you're gonna take your beginning and you're just gonna fold it. Oops, it goes this way. Fold it like this. Okay, make sure it's nice and squared. It's really hard to show you. I'm so sorry. I should probably think a little bit more about camera angles when I'm doing this. All right, I'll show you after I'm done. Hold on. There we go. All right, since this is the end of the fabric right here, since it's, you know, the end of the line, what we're gonna do is we're going to cut this piece that has that little bit of overhang, but you're gonna cut it so that when you attach it together, it's going to be hidden behind this flap, so they're not going to see it, because you're gonna essentially tack or attach these two ends together, but you just don't want any left over, so just be careful you don't cut anything that doesn't need to be cut, just like that. Okay, and then we're going to take our needle and thread, here, I'll even tip it sideways so that you can kind of see the starting to form the basket sides. So this is your bottom, and then this is your side. You literally just weave it through, only it's sideways now. Okay, so then we're going to take these two pieces together, like so, and we're just going to, you can, ooh, this is going to be fun. There we go. You can just backstitch anything that's going to seal these two ends together. Would be great. Okay, so we're keep them aligned, of course. Then we're just gonna come through the other side. It's kind of hard because you have that interfacing, so it makes it a little bit more difficult, but you'll be fine. I'm just back stitching. No one's gonna see this, so this doesn't have to be perfect. You're just sealing them together, okay? All right, that's really messy, but it does the job, okay? Because it's gonna be hidden with the band there. So you just knot it on the other side. Like so. Okay, just like that. So now you've got the formation of the bottom layer of your basket, just like that. So then you are going to take another long strip, as the last one falls off, and you're gonna do the exact same thing. So you're just going to, now I'm gonna stick, okay. But you're going to weave the opposite way, okay? So we're gonna be on the inside here. because you want the raw edge to be right in the middle, so it's hidden on the inside. Just remember 3 on the outside, 3 on the inside, alternating. Okay? All right, so we're just gonna line up. Now this isn't a, basket to put heavy stuff in. This is more decoration. You just, it's something cute. So you're not going to be able to put, heavy eggs or heavy objects and then take this and start, walking around with it. Like that's not going to work. This is like I said, a decorative piece. This is going to go on my table for Easter dinner. All right, we're just going to weave that through like so. This isn't a crazy high basket either. This isn't, you can add more layers if you want, of course, but you don't have to. You want to make sure that your weaving is nice and tight, because this is what's going to keep its shape, is, pulling and keeping it as tight as possible. All right, I'm going to keep going. And when I'm done with this side, I will be back. All right, I've gone ahead and done the last overlapping stripe as well. It looks a little weird because I've got the pins in there, so it makes it kind of heavy. But now, so this is what you should be looking at all the way around. You can go ahead and pull these straps a little bit tighter so it forms a more stable side. That's fine. But yeah, that's what you should be looking at. And then what you're going to do is we're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and very carefully we're going to stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way around the top, just so that we seal all of the binding work together. Okay, now you can do it one of 2 ways. You can put it into the, well, really the only way to do this and make it remotely work for you is taking this to the sewing machine and putting it into the sewing machine like this, so that your presser foot is on the inside here. Okay, and then you're just gonna fold it around, as you go. Do this very, very slowly. You want to make sure that you keep all of the pieces aligned. You don't want any overlapping of the long strips. Okay, so we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and do that. Again, 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way across the top. Just be careful when you are sewing that you're not getting any of these loose ends trapped it in your seam, or it's going to be a pain to get them out at the end. Be very mindful of your pins if you have pins in there. I would hope you would have pins in there, but some people don't like pins. So if you can do it without pin, more power to you. All right, so I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, do that, and then I will be right back. The top stitch is all done. You've got something that's looking like a basket. I really like it. It's really cute. All right, so basically what I did was, now we're going to put the binding to seal the top, which means we're almost done. What she says in the pattern is to cut it to a fourth of, or a quarter of an inch above where you did your top stitch. That means it's gonna come over this weave here, and I didn't want to do that. So what I did was I measured the binding that we made and just cut this just a little bit shorter so that it covers it nicely, so it's got a nice round to it. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do now is we're just going to attach the binding. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to open the beginning, and then I'm just gonna fold it in just a little bit so that the raw edges are encased, because if you don't do that, you're gonna have an issue at the end. It just makes it a little bit easier to do. So I'm gonna iron this. It's like a quarter of an inch. You can eyeball it, you don't have to measure it. I'm gonna iron this really fast. I'll be right back. All right, so now what we're going to do after that is ironed that way, so we're going to open up our binding, and we are going to align it to the top of our basket. Just like so. You want to make sure it's even, just like that. And then we're going to clip in place as we go. This is a great opportunity when you're clipping this in place to start forming and sharpening those edges so it really tries to box itself out. So basically, this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm just sealing the top. Now I'm coming to the curve, or the angle here. So you want to try to pin it so that there's that curve right there to give you the box shape of the basket. I mean, if it's a little round, it's okay. It's not a big deal. We're just gonna work our way around the entire outer edge. Clipping it to every single one of these is really going to help you keep everything on track when you're attaching this at the sewing machine. You can attach it by hand if you want, but it's a lot faster to do it at the sewing machine, and it keeps everything very consistent with what you were already doing. And this literally fits right on top, so you're not fiddling too much Just make sure that you are even, because when you top stitch this, you need to catch both sides of the binding or it's just not going to work. If you don't want to make your own binding, of course you can always go to the store and get a pre-made binding. That's entirely up to you. Okay, and now we've come to the end pretty much. I'm gonna hook this last one right here as evenly as possible. Just like so. And then, so now we've got our enclosed casing here. I'm gonna line it up and trim it about halfway through. Make sure you don't hit your fabric underneath. And we're gonna take the binding that's finished and pull it up. Slip this binding over the top, trying to keep it together. And then sealing it completely inside, like so. Okay, so now that is your binding for the top. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this over to the sewing machine and I'm gonna do 2 rows of top stitching. I'm gonna do a top stitching row 1/8 of an inch right here so it seals our edges, and then I'm gonna do a top stitch across the top at the 1/8 of an inch as well, just to seal that as well. Make sure that when you're doing this, you are keeping it all aligned so so you catch both sides of your lining. Again, you're gonna have to put it into the sewing machine this way so that your presser foot is here and you're coming through this way. Go very slowly, you will be fine. I'm gonna go do that and I will be and I'll be right back. Your binding is done. It is time to attach the strap and then you are done. Like, seriously, you're done. So, you're gonna take the strap you made. I definitely suggest using the interfacing that she suggested in the pattern, if you can find it, or using a piece of maybe like Peltex or something to beef up the strap a little bit. It is a little flimsy, but basically you're going to align your strap right on top of where you did your seam for your binding. Right on top of that, line it up right up with the bottom, and then just clip in place. Like so. Just like that, and then come over to the other side and do the same thing. Center it, see if you can line it up as best you can. Just like that, line it right up with the bottom there. Then you're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, you're just going to make a rectangle right here. If you want, you can do an X right through the center of it too, just to reinforce it. but you don't have to do that. And you're going to do it on both sides. Okay, and then we'll be right back. All right, there you go. We are done. Isn't that a really cute bag? Or not bag, basket. That's absolutely adorable. That's going to look so cute on as a centerpiece. Just reinforcing that handle a little bit. But if you use the interfacing that she suggested in the pattern, it will turn out much more stable than this. Like I said, I couldn't find any. So voila, we are done. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Leave a comment in the comment section down below and give the video a thumbs up. Until next time, see ya.